Back in 2011, when I was but a young cub, just coming off my Call of Duty obsession, where nights were filled with laughter, banter, and many shots fired at the endless hordes of zombies in Call of Duty Zombies. Just coming off of that, I discovered these amazing things. Story games. From Assassin's Creed to Red Dead Redemption and even Grand Theft Auto 4. So imagine my surprise as I wake up one day and jump on the computer to watch my favourite AC YouTuber. I instead find myself watching a video that very much changed my life forever. The Last of Us. This game about a man and his surrogate daughter traversing the wild American wasteland 20 years deep in a zombie apocalypse had me hooked. I still remember getting the game and playing that opening 30 minutes, tears running down my face as I'm confronted with emotions I hadn't truly experienced in games yet, but ever. And I knew that this thing was special. So here we are, 11 years later. I'm watching the Game Awards. I am treated to something that was, well... Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, didn't really hit me the same way The Last of Us did when I first saw it. That isn't to say I'm not excited for Naughty Dog's next foray into new IP, despite a lot of controversy surrounding their recent games and actions. Last of Us Part 2. Last of Us Remake. Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. I'm still very intrigued to see what this new sci-fi adventure has in store for us. And I could go and break down the trailer like every other idiot on the internet has done already. But honestly, why would I even bother? But I still want to talk about the game and what we know about it so far. I'll break it up into these sections here. And yeah, let's talk about Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet. Fuck, that's so hard to say, man. Oh my god.
Oh, and yeah, if you could give this wee video a like and a subscribe and a comment and all that wonderful stuff, it would be really appreciated, especially if you enjoyed the video. And let me know your thoughts about Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet. I don't like saying the word, but that's fine. Thanks. Back to the video.
I'd say if you're watching this video, you likely have a brief idea, at minimum, of what this game is. So I'll keep this brief. Intergalactic is the newest game coming out of Naughty Dog, held once again by everyone's favourite mocap artist, Neil Druckmann himself. And instead of raiding tombs or killing fungi guys, this time we're in an 80s inspired sci-fi where our dashing protagonist must battle her way throughout a deserted planet as she tries desperately to escape a place no one has got out of in over 600 years. Intergalactic's been in development from 2020, but only being released to us now. We don't really have a definitive release date as of yet. It could still be a couple of years out, as is often the way with these things nowadays, but we did get some information in some recent interviews with Druckmann about the game. He said in 2022 how he assembled the writing team for a new project and structured that writing team to operate more like a TV show than anything he's done before. With his recent soiree into production in the likes of the Last of Us TV adaptation, hopefully that bears fruit within the game. To me, I'd hazard we will likely see the game in multiple episodes instead of chapters or seasons like we've had before, each episode highlighting a different aspect of the planet Jordan is on, and a different big bad at the end that we have to fight. But we'll get more into that a bit later. Druckmann also described the story as something that explores what happens when you put your faith in different institutions. And in that, the game will centre on a fictional religion that we know very little of so far. Right, so what's the crack with this world? We have Porsche spaceships, anime cartoons, and Ellen Ripley knockoffs. But where the hell are we? And what the hell's happened? Intergalactic is set to take place thousands of years ahead of our time, where in the year 1986, this world diverged from our own as space travel advanced significantly faster than it did with us, and we will mainly be exploring Simperia within the game, a deserted planet where, due to some strange reason we aren't privy to just yet, hasn't had anyone leave its orbit in 600 years. While the trailer features the main character Jordan on her Porsche ship as she gears up to head to one of the planet's moons to hunt a bounty target, we aren't likely to do much space exploration from the sound of things, which definitely puts a dampener on the trailer, as I was expecting a Naughty Dog take on the classic sci-fi spacefaring. But regardless, Jordan is going to this planet to hunt a bounty target, since she is a bounty hunter who hunts bounties. But these bounties are her old crew.
My name's John Marston.
The only other bit of setting related things we know so far is this line at the beginning of the trailer, written in ancient Cimmerian text. The suffering of generations must be endured to achieve our divine end, which likely ties into the heavy religious ties on the planet and is likely to play into the game's themes throughout. So yeah, I've mentioned it a bit before, but in the trailer we're treated to copious amounts of product placement, with brands like Porsche and Adidas, and of course Sony, featuring heavily throughout the game's trailer. I've seen a lot of people hate on having so much blatant advertisement in a space game like this, but let me offer a different opinion. I think it's actually really cool to see an alternate and future history take on what brands would do if space travel became the big thing down the line. Of course, people are going to want a Porsche spaceship, and with the design of it in game, it looks just so good. From the clearly very Porsche aesthetic across the exterior in that iconic red, and the interior, which mixes a lot of that 80s sci-fi vibe with technology that looks much closer to reality than we often see in sci-fi stories today. My only hope is that the game leans into this alt history look on what brands would be like in the future. I want to see a Volkswagen ship, a Peugeot 306 with wings, a damn Mazda Miata with pop-up jet engine propulsion engines. The shoes though just look like some pretty slick snakes, but nothing we can't get today. Perhaps fashion did just die past our modern era. But again, there could still be some really cool potential in how the future is imagined here. And isn't that what we play games for? To see these dreamt up realities different from our own, but at the same time very similar? But who the hell is this Ellen Ripley wannabe Jordan anyway? Well, Jordan Amon is a bounty hunter, making her way to Simperia in pursuit of one of her targets. And from what we see in that trailer, he isn't just any target. He's one of Jordan's former crew, the Five Aces, and she's hunting him down as he hides out on the broken moon of Simperia. This will likely take us into our first mission of the game that results in Jordan either killing him and falling to Simperia, or maybe she chases him onto the planet herself.
Another happy landing.
But back to Jordan. She's played by Tati Gabrielle, God help every name I have to say here, who has been in the Uncharted movie that came out with Tom Holland, and also plays Nora in the upcoming season 2 of The Last of Us TV show. Big hype for that, by the way. I really hope they can do that justice. We don't know much else about her, but she seems to either be a fairly accomplished bounty hunter, or is living off the spoils for thieving days with the Five Aces, assuming her fairly spacious Porsche ship is anything to go by. She also sports some tattoos, including a big octopus on her arm, and an Eldira VI logo on her arm. No clue what this means, but perhaps it's a military unit? Or just a label that's used to designate people within the universe. Eldira VI definitely sounds like a sector in space to me. She also has a 242 on her arm as well, which solely going off of the very totalitarian font used, may be a designation from her being in prison. Given her life as a bounty hunter and previously a part of a criminal syndicate in the Five Aces, it isn't too far-fetched to believe. But moving on to the other characters we get glimpses at within the trailer, we have Healy Gross playing Jordan's bounty hunter agent. As far as I can tell, they seem to have been at this together for a fair while the banter with the banter from back and forth and genuine care the agent seems to have for Jordan as she embarks on a more or less suicide mission in hunting her target. Colin Graves, played by Camille Nanjiani, I'm so sorry, who we only see in pictures here, is obviously someone who shares a history with Jordan, as we see him from the trailer slow pan across her planning wall, with him featuring behind her in a picture showing the Five Aces after a presumably big score. I wish I had money like that. From that same picture, we also see some other members of the Five Aces. The blonde one is rumoured to be played by Ashley Scott, who voiced Maria in The Last of Us 1 and 2, as well as Stephen A. Chang, who played Jesse in The Last of Us Part 2. And God, I really hope we get a good Ashley Johnson and Troy Baker cameo somewhere. Come on, we need this, come on. And then we have presumably the head honcho of the Five Aces, the ace himself, you may say. Unnamed as of yet, but played by Tony Dalton, who played Lalo Salamanca in Better Call Saul. And as you can likely tell, this is a fairly stacked cast here, so I'm fairly assured in the quality performance we're going to get from this. Here's hoping Druckmann's writing can keep up. And then there's the gameplay. Unfortunately, we know very little of what the gameplay within Intergalactic will be like. We only have a very brief snippet of gameplay at the end of the trailer, with Jordan leaping off a rock with a goddamn laser sword before hitting this big-ass robot-looking guy. But let's see what we know. So combat itself looks to be a lot more heavily focused on melee combat. Not something Naughty Dog have done a lot of before, but I will say that Uncharted 4 and The Last of Us 2's hand-to-hand melee stuff was pretty good, and fun to master timing-wise. So something like that, but more involved, really speaks to me as someone who always enjoys a good melee romp. The laser sword also features heavily in the marketing, so it's likely to play a vital role. And honestly, with a design like that, I really hope so. We also see some environmental gameplay with Jordan jumping from the rock to hit an overhead whack on the robot. Hopefully these are nice and fluid so we get some real good cinematic montages, just as we did for The Last of Us 2. Despite the heavy melee focus, we do see Jordan picking up her gun and having it on planet with her in the trailer. Likely it will play a smaller role, focusing on hitting weak points or targeting smaller flying enemies that would be much harder to reach with the sword. And other than that, we don't know much else about the gameplay other than this brief combat sequence. Though the robot design is really cool with the ancient Sumerian text over its paneling and a round-dash look that makes it look like it's been continuously repaired, hence the two arms on one side. Hopefully we do see more variety in the enemies featured to keep it varied throughout. Not to say the other games weren't varied, but more is usually better in this case. Outside of combat and enemies though, we know very little. It'll likely feature similar traversal and navigation to The Last of Us Part 2 and Uncharted, as we trudge through ancient outposts and remnants of those who couldn't escape the planet. Plenty of lore, environmental storytelling, etc. should be rife in this one. But going back to the ship, it's the one part of this that I'm a bit confused on. Though the trailer focuses so heavily on it, since we're going to be stranded on this planet, why focus on this basic intro piece? Potentially, it could be that the ship doesn't crash as I would have initially assumed, but there is just something blocking it from exiting the planet's atmosphere, so we may get sections of traversal or even some ship flying sprinkled throughout the game as well. Something very akin to Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor. So there you have it, folks. Basically everything we know and everything I think about Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet so far. Wait, Heretic Prophet likely refers to Jordan. She doesn't believe in the hubbub taking place in Sumperia, but is nonetheless thrust into being the savior of the religion. The prophet, as it were. Damn, I can't believe I just got that. Holy fuck. But aye, it looks like a fun time. To be completely honest, I was a bit underwhelmed at the trailer and its lack of actual gameplay, But nonetheless, I'm buzzing for a new Naughty Dog IP. Hopefully it finally washes the bad taste many had of The Last of Us Part 2 and the pointless remakes and re-releases they've had coming out since. But here, that's a topic for another day. Thanks very much for watching. If you did enjoy this one, I would really appreciate you giving it a like, a comment, and a subscription. And if you didn't like it, I would also appreciate if you tell me that in the comments down below. I want to make this stuff better at the end of the day. Or just shout vitriol at me. I guess you'll do that anyway. This is Naughty Dog related video, but yeah, the joys. Thanks guys. Take it easy. Peace.